think that the intercept try right at the end that gave Hanley a deserved hat-trick and padded his numbers to 202, certainly, gave the scoreline a little bit less fairness. I think a 2-score difference would have been much fairer than a 3-score difference, personally. So I'm on board with what Joshua's granddad said there. But it's some of the stuff that John picked out that I suppose is going to be a conversation, more looking for next week than this week, Alan, but it's worth talking about from this game because Jack Walker's performance means that Leeds have a decision to make at fullback for Wembley. For me, I thought he was exceptional, and crucially, he got through the whole game. His last game he played, he got injured a bit again. But and is it just me? Is he taller?
What, than before he was injured?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. He just looks taller. He looks more grown up. And we've managed to talk about him, Jack Walker, and we've not called him young Jack Walker. And we've talked about him I've talked about him 3 times before calling him young Jack Walker. I think he's grown up a bit.
Perhaps he just looks... I don't know.
But what do you think of his performance, and then what do you think of this potential question mark over the fullback for going into next week?
I completely agree with John that his performance unfortunately gives Agar a bit of a selection headache. He's still on the way back, and we do know that he is a bit brittle, and I'm not sure I'd want to take that risk. And Myler's so flexible. We've seen that. If I was making the pick, I'd put... But it's a tricky one because Walker is probably the better player at fullback.
You broke up a bit there, but what I gathered from what you said is you want to play them both at fullback. You have
yeah, if you just do them on a rotational basis.
Interesting point that John made about Sutcliffe and Hurrell actually as well.
No, yeah, well, as long as you don't give Hurrell the first carry, as long as you kind of stop him carrying it first time up, and then he doesn't knock it on, then generally you'll be okay.
But also, Sutcliffe's kind of not the backup anymore, I think, because Sutcliffe retained that left centre position when Hurrell regained his fitness, and it was Hurrell that went and covered for young Harry Newman being injured. And actually, maybe that's told Hurrell you need to play a little bit differently because you're not first choice anymore. Like, you don't get to call the shots of where you play because Sutcliffe's playing so well.
Or not an automatic.
Yeah, and I think it's really good man management from Richard Agar around that, I think. Because Hurrell has been better the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I do feel that Leeds... I don't know if he was just withdrawn.
I don't know what the connection
cautionary basis,
are here, but you're breaking up loads, so I hope people kind of picked up what you were saying then. Sorry, Al.
I'm sure he's really incisive. No, I'm not sure if Louis is definitely in or out for the final. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I don't know either, to be honest. Ash Hanley's the other clear difference maker, I think, between the two sides in the game on Thursday. I thought Pryor and Alexi were good for Leeds as well, but Ash Hanley's having another really impressive season.
Yes, he is. He's looking. He's every bit of the finisher that you want. He's looking closer to the finished article at wing than ever before. Even though he's definitely not a fullback. So yeah, but yeah, overall, considering the circumstances, Hull were just very unlucky for me. It could have been very different if Faraimo had scored that try to put them 16-0 up, which they had a chance of doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. The kind of letting Leeds back into the game just before half time then as well, it kind of gave him no room for error, did it, in the second half? And it was always one step forward. Connor's 40-20 was one of the best kicks you're going to see, and it was good that the kick was rewarded with a try from the next set. But it was a 30-10. It was from the other side of the pitch. It was phenomenal. And Snead kicked one as well and stuff. But every time they scored, they conceded. It felt like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do have a question about Dwyer and Leeming, though.
Okay.
Do you think they should still be starting with Cruz Leeming? Because how much better they look when Dwyer's on the pitch.
I think they look more explosive when Dwyer's on the pitch from a sort of attacking point of view. It's more obvious the impact he has. But I actually feel Leeming's growing into his role with the Leeds side, and I do think some of the performances of the forwards is being assisted by Leeming's play, because Leeming's a bit more selective when he runs, but when he runs, he's looking to open up opportunities for others, whereas Dwyer's just see hole, run at hole kind of thing, and then if something great happens off the back, which like it did for one of the tries, then that's so noticeable. But I actually have started to be more impressed with Leeming the last 2 or 3 games than I was the 2 or 3 games before that. So, because I was thinking, is that a way you make space to get Myler into the 17 as well as Walker? Have one of those two on the bench, and then Myler can move to dummy half when Dwyer, it would be one that you chose out of the two if you could only have one, I think, right now still.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the right way to go. I do think Aledzki, Pryor, Seyemanov and I, you look at their best spells in games, and that is when Leeming's on the pitch. So I think they're setting the platform really well with Leeming. So if you'd asked me the same question 2 weeks ago, I would have been completely... There's no role for Leeming really here. Dwyer's running it, but I've got to say I've been more impressed with Leeming.
Yeah. It's an interesting point that it seems that because of his natural pace, Dwyer seems to be better at linking with the outside backs, whereas Leeming's more of a forwards dummy half. If that makes sense.
I think he's more rounded. I think he's more. Yeah. He's got more overall thing, yeah. But lots of people might jump on the Hanley try that came from Dwyer's break as being like maybe the highlight moment try of the game. But I'd actually go with Hanley's first try with the interplay from Walker and Hanley. Walker got that ball from Gale and threw a really great offload under pressure out to Hanley, who then finished with a really good stretch. You talk about some of the difficult finishes that you've seen pulled off this week. The Inu one, for example, which looked like he was never going to score, and then he did. Well, and then other ones that were so close, like you talk about Frimo missing an opportunity, but Hanley's ability to get that ball down as well was a great piece of skill, I thought. So I was most impressed by that try.
Yeah. Ultimately, Leeds deserved it, but I mean, Hull come out of it with a lot of credit for me in terms of stepping up and yeah.
Yeah, they owed Cass one, didn't they? From earlier on when Cass stepped in to play Wigan, and that set them back in their top 4 hopes, and this has set Hull back. But like you say, credit to them, and they made it a much more entertaining game than I was expecting. I think probably more entertaining than if it had been Cass against Leeds at this stage with the way it's been going.
Although it's almost impossible to predict what's going to be a good game or not, really, at the moment. I would say.
Yeah.
The next game is definitely that way for me.
Unpredictably close, certainly. Wakefield versus St Helens on Friday. Liam Moore, the man who'll be the referee in the Challenge Cup final, was the man with the whistle in this match. It was 12-10 to bottom side Wakefield at half time, but top side St Helens ended up 20 points to 16 winners. In terms of the stats, St Helens, and anyone who watched the game won't be surprised by this, did tally more errors in this game, but were still able to make twice as many breaks, 6-3, over 300 more metres and a big 1.6 metres per carry better average gain. So they were better with the ball, even though they were also worse with the ball. Individually, the relentless machine that is James Roby had a try assist, 60 tackles, 14 of which were marker tackles, and 131 metres. Alex Walmsley, I thought was quite poor in this game, but still managed 9 tackle busts, 171 metres and 3 successful offloads.
Yeah, that's a bad day for him.
Yeah. Tommy Makinson returned to get 186 metres, and Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, maybe the architect of the Saints' comeback, 1 try, 41 tackles and 123 metres. The mouth from the south went both ways. Then, in terms of Wakefield, Reece Lynn had a try assist, 154 metres and 2 clean breaks. Josh Wood came out of a lot of credit from this game. He had 55 tackles in the middle there. Kalepi Tanganoa, 119 metres. And Matty Ashurst with 1 try, 5 tackle busts and 109 metres.
There's definitely a slight question mark against that one. Karsten says, Wakey with a better start and some real effort, but Saints sorted their mess out in the second half. The errors in the first half were un-Saints-like.
And St. David said, boy, we made hard work of this again. Defence was very good, but the attack was clunky. It was as clunky as a Matt Hancock spreadsheet. The refereeing was nearly, but not quite, as bad as we were. Ho-hum. Better next week, I hope. Onwards. Bollocks. He made one mistake, which you can understand because the ball went backwards off Theo Farge, but he fucking dropped it still. You know, he didn't execute his skill perfectly either, so the fact that the match officials didn't shouldn't really be too much of a talking point, I don't think.
Yeah.
That's a neutral observer who probably was more supportive of the referee than either of the two sides, so I'm not that neutral. That's my take on Liam Moore's performance. I don't think he was that bad. I just think he got a couple of... He made calls on the 50-50s, and some of them were wrong, where the ball actually went backwards when it really... He thought it went forwards.
Yeah, but that's the way with 50-50s. You know, half the time you look like a genius, half the time you look like an idiot.
Yeah, and to be honest, don't fucking drop it.
Yeah.
And I think it was I think it was in the NRL game, rather than this game. But there was a game where there was a player having a very much conversation with the referee at one point towards the end of one of the halves. It might have been this one actually, and I just wish the referee had turned round and be like, "What? So every play your team did in this game so far, they've got it right. You've not made... Just checking, because I haven't berated you for any of the times you've fucked up. So why are you berating me for the times that I might have? I'm just waiting for a referee to do that when something is so... there's no serious injustice here. Don't act like there was.
No, because, I mean, I'm sure David would readily accept that Saints were dog shit in the first kind of 30 minutes of this.
And we often talk about refereeing decisions going with the momentum of things, don't we? Really?
Yeah.
Look at going with the momentum of things. And I think that's kind of what happened. I don't feel like there was a major injustice. Let me sort of express it that way. But, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Saints were very bad in this one. You can't really sugarcoat it from any point of view. Yeah, they were bad. And Wakefield completely deserved their lead, you know. It just felt like Saints were not... There was far too, as you said, there were far too many balls on the floor, weren't there, in terms of just miscommunications between, you know, kind of moves that would be pretty standard stuff, kind of just kind of moving it wide, and players were just dropping the ball. It just felt like there wasn't a lot of focus out there.
The one that sticks out the most was it after the 40-20? Was it after a 40-20? I think it was. And then off the back of that, James Bentley kind of wandered a bit crabbed a bit across the middle and threw an aimless pass from in front of the sticks out to the left that went to no one. And I think Ryan Hampshire, who